So that is why our intention is to come up with a deliberate 2-year media campaign to define the principles of what is called Nigeria. We call it the 3R system. The great rejuvenation, the reawakening, and the renaissance of the Nigerian nation. The definition of the fact that Nigeria is a conflagration of a marketplace where people need to live richer because of their share size. Where the reason why people from each other part of the country needs to live together because you will get more when we stay together than when you go alone, you get less. What our current government approach used to do, you know, I mentioned earlier that the world has shifted from security-defined world order to supply chain world order. Now bridges now are pushing down walls. You know, so what our presidents used to do, the current leadership of the system, the current leadership that we'll be having in the country generally from independence most time, especially the military leadership, used to think security first. Once there is an uprising, the first thing we think about is pick people to go and quench that uprising. There must be order at the detriment of freedom. And this is a problem. Freedom is supposed to supersede order in every democratic institutional governance. Now that is why we will need to come up with a deliberate campaign to make sure people understand the reason why we need to stay together as one nation. Because that is the great strength we have. Our strength is in this diversity that we have. If I have a market of 180 million people, I don't need to pay a border to reach them. Then I am great as a citizen of Nigeria. Because if somebody is coming from Ghana to trade with me, he has to spend a lot of resources to reach this market. Why do I need to go? Why do I need to go? But the problem is, we have consistently leaders that their thinking is not economy first. The thinking is either I have allegiance to my region, or maybe I have allegiance to my wife, or I have allegiance to this section, and this is why we keep getting it wrong. The policy system has not been shaped to address the basic reason why Nigeria is together, which is economics. That's the basic reasons why we are together. So we need to transit away from security to enforcement, and then we move to supply chain to economic prosperity. We need to build a nation that we can export civilization of peace and prosperity. There is nothing that needs to divide us, because all those divisions make us smaller and make us weaker. Like all the religious differences that we used to have in this country, we mentioned that in our manifesto. One of it is that we are not going to consider federal character as part of constitutional recognition. There will be no federal character in our proposal. What we do is, competency should drive your appointment in the government office. There is no need for me to try to suit one regional interest. We don't need that, because we need the nation to work for everyone, not for some interest. The second thing again is that even one of the strongest manifestos, although my team are saying I shouldn't mention it, but I will do that, because I don't believe there should be mosque or church inside Aso Rock Villa. I believe they should be pulled out. I believe that house should remain for Nigeria as a secular state. If I am a Muslim or I am a Christian, I should find a way to go another place to do my worship, but not in the seat of power of Nigeria. We will cease to institutionalize religion and will never identify with any religion as an institution in the governance system of the country. No any religious man can come to see me and then I snap pictures with him. I don't recognize that as I see you as a cultural champion or traditional champion. Remain traditional. You don't have political responsibility in this country. You are not an institution. You are just a religion that is important. Please practice it as a culture or tradition, but it's never our identity. Our identity is Nigeria first. So you cannot come and divide us. So those are actually the key approach that we are trying to do. So there is no any institutionalization of religion. There is no any media that will come and snap me. I'm in the mosque. I'm going to sue them for libel. I will not agree. Because that is not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is to represent Nigeria first. My allegiance is to Nigeria first. Those children that are dying of hunger and poverty is my responsibility. Not another person's thinking of hoping of something somewhere that I don't know. So that is exactly what I feel like we should do to make sure we address these issues that we are having. Regarding the issue of agriculture, I think I mentioned that in my manifesto earlier. Now we import even cocoa. You can imagine Nestle in Nigeria is importing cocoa from Cote d'Ivoire. That cocoa is actually excavated in our southwestern states here. And the cocoa, now the farm of cocoa has now been changed to yam. They are farming yam in that place. These are the agricultural choices that I mentioned earlier that we need to change. We need to look into value chain in crop selection. We cannot just go into agriculture because we want to eat food, or maybe I just feel like I should go into agriculture. We should have a state-defined policy that regulates our agricultural practices. We have rubber, we have cocoa, we have cotton, we have granite, we have palm kernel. All these things have high value, high yield value when it comes to their plantation and harvesting, and they also have a good industry value chain. Why can't we focus on them as a state policy? So if you are investing in cotton, I will give you incentive. If you are bringing $100 million to invest in cotton in Nigeria, fine, this is beautiful. I can subsidize that process for you. But I cannot subsidize rice because it's something that I can import from Thailand at even cheaper rate. Now we are subsidizing rice in Nigeria, right? They said we are manufacturing rice in Nigeria. The same Vaswani brother tolerant group that import rice in Nigeria are the same people that are still having it in Nigeria. You know, and in most cases imported. Those are wrong policy choices. What we need to do is to focus on agricultural value chain. The agricultural output in the country should power manufacturing industries. So that's actually our approach to agriculture. We focus on these cash crops, as they mentioned. Those are the things we focus on.
Yes. I have a question.
No, yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
We're still talking about.
Yes, those are the Nigerian bit, right?
Education.
Yes, the education policy. I think I mentioned about the fact that we need to change it to skill-based education policy instead of focusing on academic-based where you are measured by paper. We want you to be measured by the way you assemble this form, you know, so that we can have Microsoft phone factory in Nigeria tomorrow. But if we are measuring you on how you can calculate X is equals to 0 and then underline it in the paper, then we are not getting the right results seriously. So we'll focus exclusively on skill-based training. People should learn skills. People should learn skills across all channels. You can come to orthopedic hospitals here in Lagos. You can see an Indian expatriate coming to be treating all bone-related issues. That Indian expatriate has never gone to one university. He just went to have 1 year training in how to handle bombs, and then Mumbai University has given him a degree to come and through their diplomatic channel here in Nigeria. Because what the diplomatic relationship between Nigeria and India, let me define it clearly. What they do is they will buy more of our oil. They can buy oil from the United States. They can also buy oil from the Middle East. They even have good relationship with Russia, so they can buy oil from Russia. You understand? So, but now, Nigeria, we are going to buy oil more from you because they are our largest supplier of oil. They buy about 14 million barrels of oil from $14 billion worth of oil in Nigeria. So they will buy our oil in exchange for their expatriate to have a smooth riding in our economy. And that's what has been happening. That's why Indians is everywhere. That's just the fact. It has nothing to do with any maybe you think Indians are coming to take over your job. They have state backing to do that because some people need to sell that oil to them. You see, so we need to change these things. Is it actually favoring? Why can't we have it the other way around? You see, they are exporting skills for product. They are buying. Now, for all the products we are buying, why can't we also get skills import? Why do we only import what we consume instead of importing skills? Okay, even if we are consuming from you, give us the skills too. Let's share. But it shouldn't be a one-way traffic. I don't want to drive Mercedes because I'm a big guy. I want to drive Mercedes because you are giving my people the skills to know how to fix Mercedes. You know, so this is the things we need to look at. It has to do with checks and balances. That is actually how we want to structure our education system totally with this. From the government, there will be backing for skills development, and from the institutions, there will be mandatory structures to make sure they teach only skills driven. And not just institutions that are isolated. We can't have a school sitting in one village and then teaching how to do banking. We'll connect you with that Union Bank or that First Bank that is in that area to teach you how to do banking. So these are the kind of areas where we need to address education sector.
Sir? Yes, sir. Permit me to stand again. Don't be offended. The question I asked is this. Yes. Okay, like early this year, we Rotary Club of 9125 Nigeria.
Yes.
We visited the Emir of Gombe and Emir of Katungo.
Yes.
Katungo.
Yeah.
He's well learned. We are discussing with him. He says something to us. His major challenge now is Al-Majris.
Yes. Okay.
I mentioned it here. That's my
Yes.
question.
Yes.
That is an ancestor. How? That this Boko Haram of a thing
Yes.
is 1,995 Al-Majris. He gave us the story of a 15-year-old boy. He's hungry, no good school, nothing in the street, just an ordinary Al-Majri with a ball and whatever, bambina in the street and motor park. They have to call him, gave him 500. Package bomb inside a bottle flask, full flask. Asked him to go and buy kunu. That particular they sent him to go and buy the kunu. Soldier, there is a army joint there or something of that nature. And there's a time bomb inside the bottle flask. The boy is not aware of anything there. He took the full flask, the 500, and he should buy kunu 200 naira, use 300 naira after everything. Getting there, it's a nice group. He killed the guy and some army officers there. The question now is, sir, how are you going to reduce hunger? In fact, for we have been to North, in every park in Jambutu, Jimeta, you